Hello, and welcome to Lit by Moonlight, where it's not a phase to try and lobotomize the baddest bitch in the entire world.
They tried to do it to her.
They really try to do it. Today, we are reviewing HBO's The Last of Us with episode 9, Look for the Light.
I just noticed this, last night, that we begin with When You're Lost in the Darkness and we end here. Isn't that crazy?
I kind of figured that's exactly what they were going to do when I saw the title of the first episode. I was like, the last one better be Look for the Light. Here we are.
It's a literal call to action for Joel, right? Like, he's lost in the darkness in episode 1, and then he finds that light in Ellie by the end of episode 9.
Shut up. I'm not ready to cry again.
Yeah.
Not even a minute into this episode.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna be a rough one.
It's gonna be a rough one.
I literally was looking at the HBO Max banner for the behind the scenes stuff, which is a picture of Pedro and Bella holding hands behind the scenes.
I know.
And I was just like, well, I'm gonna start crying now. Good. That's good. That's good. Good way to end the night.
I'm glad that we're doing this.
What a lovely end to my Sunday and beginning to my week.
Woohoo!
So let's talk a little bit about what happens in this episode. Joel and Ellie have made it to Salt Lake City, where the Fireflies find them before they find the Fireflies. So when Joel wakes up in the Firefly hospital after he and Ellie are hit with a smoke bomb, he sees Marlene, who tells him that Ellie is being prepped for surgery. The plan is to remove the cordyceps from Ellie so that they can be used to cure others. But the problem is the cordyceps are in Ellie's brain.
I wonder if Joel will be totally fine with that and everyone in the hospital will live.
I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or actually, Joel will go on a murderous rampage and kill everyone in the hospital in order to save Ellie from her death, including her surgeon. Joel carries Ellie out of the hospital, executing Marlene on the way out. When Ellie awakes, she's in the back of a car with Joel driving back toward Tommy's commune. Joel lies that they tested Ellie, determined there are many other people with similar genetics, and that they have stopped looking for a cure. Ellie doesn't necessarily believe in Joel, but she can't bring herself to believe that Joel would ever lie to her. This is where season 1 of The Last of Us concludes.
And there were no consequences to any actions.
No, not at all. Everything's fine now. Everything's cool. It's all good.
Fine.
Everything is cool and fine. All good. Yeah.
I'm Caitlin, and I can't believe it's over.
It feels like it literally just happened.
Literally, yesterday, I was at your house, and we were watching the premiere together. That was yesterday.
I can't believe we're here now. I'm Emberlyn, and I'm not sure what to fill the void with that this show has left in my life.
Yeah.
I don't know what to put there. Probably nothing. Probably just sit there empty for a very long time.
Yeah, what I did was, before the finale, I made an entire playlist last night.
Yeah.
That's what I did. So I'll probably be crying to that throughout this week. But when I get to 9 o'clock next Sunday, I don't know what I'm going to do because I've gotten kind of used to going through an emotional crisis every night at 9 o'clock on Sunday. So I guess I'll just have to come up with my own.
I was going to say, is your body just going to respond the same way?
Yeah.
You're going to lie down in bed and just be like, all of a sudden. Great. So Caitlin, I can't believe we're already here.
I know.
This is it. I don't know how to process the end of this season.
But we'll try.
Yeah. But I think I want to start with us chatting a little bit about our hooks for this episode. What got you immersed? What got you to keep on watching, other than the fact that you love the show?
Other than the fact that I would never stop watching.
I was gonna say it's a funny question for when we really like the content.
Yeah, you know? We get to the finale and it's like, you know what? Nah, I'm good.
I'm not interested anymore all of a sudden. I don't know why.
Suddenly I don't care about these two characters that I'm totally not attached to.
Yes.
So the hook for me, of course, it starts off with a black screen and you just hear this breathing and panting. And I was thinking it was, Ellie, thinking it was oh, we're getting some flashback to her immediate trauma after what happened last episode with David. And I was like, wow, Bella sounds just like Ellie. Oh, it's Ellie, because it was Ashley Johnson.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, no way. I knew she was going to be in this episode, but I was still ah. 10 out of 10 move to have Ashley Johnson play Ellie's mom. Of course.
Right.
She was so good. And it was so wild to me to hear Ellie, like, to hear the, like, game Ellie's voice in this show was, like, mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. That was my hook as well. I think when I first heard her, like, she's kind of like gasping and as she's running through the woods, like the moment I heard her voice, like the second I heard it, I knew it was Ashley. And even though I haven't played the game, I know the gameplay well enough that the moment I heard her, I was like, oh my God, like she's here. It's happening. It's insane how much her and Bella look and sound alike.
I know.
Kind of shocked me when I first saw her face. I've seen them both before, obviously.
Right.
But I've never put two and two together. So I just really, like, it really shocked me how similar they looked. Like, they definitely could have been, like, mother and daughter at, like, the very least.
It's funny you say that, though, because when the trailer initially came out, you see a shot of Ashley Johnson looking at little baby Ellie. And it was like super quick, and of course, like, trailers, like, play, like, a whole bunch of little clips, like, really quick next to each other. I remember seeing that, thinking it was Bella, and going, oh wow, she looks a lot like Ellie right there.
Yeah.
And then like watching it over again and being like, oh wait, no, that was Ashley Johnson, and obviously she's Ellie. So it was like, it's kind of crazy, but like it just really proved, like, to me, like, how similar Bella is to Ashley without even meaning to. Like, it like, I'll get into it more a little bit later, but just great casting overall, and I just love that both Ellies were in this last episode. So
yeah, it's so interesting because Bella talks a little bit in some of the behind the scenes content from last night about how she was told not to play the game so that she wouldn't end up copying Ashley's character too much, and she ended up sneaking, like, watching some gameplay. But I think just going off of that while making the character their own is really, like, impressive and cool. When Ashley Johnson's character, when Anna says, you fucking tell him, Ellie, when Ellie is crying, I just remember being like, oh my God, that's her, that's Ashley, like, that's Ellie. Like, it was just it was such a, like, a full circle experience. Like, it was really awesome. Yeah, such a cool way to end the season.
Obviously, that was a banger quote. Do you have any other favorite quotes that happened in this episode?
There were quite a few. I'd say in terms of writing, and I think maybe in part just because of all of the great writing that happens at this point in the game, but also because there was so much to, like, call back to. So was it everything you hoped for. It's got its ups and downs, but you can't deny the view. Yeah. That was rude. I'm going to take a moment. Sorry, I'm going to take a moment to call out that the trash man is outside my house.
Again?
So if you hear any loud noises, then know that it's me thrusting my body into the barrel so that I can be taken to the dump. Because that's where I belong after all of this. I don't know where else to go. I can't stay here, though.
Sometimes a show just makes you feel like you need to just jump into the back of a dumpster truck, you know?
Occasionally, you just need to be trash.
Yeah.
So another line that really breaks my heart, and this is when Joel suggests that they could maybe turn back, that they don't have to go through with this. Ellie says, after all we've been through, after everything I've done, it can't all be for nothing. That really broke me because this is where we see Ellie's purpose emerge. We know that she sees this as her purpose, that she'd be willing to die for it, though we don't really necessarily see her have that choice. This is just something that Joel could not accept. So that's really, like, broke me. And then I think I have so many. I'd follow you anywhere you go.
Oh,
great, thanks.
Shut up. That really got me.
I will be naming a playlist after that, and I will be listening to it throughout the rest of my life until my later years. That really hurt. When we get the revelation from Joel, it was me. I was the guy who shot and missed. When we learn about where he got his scar from,
my heart stopped.
That was new for me. So
that was new for me too.
Oh wow! Is that not canon in the game?
No.
Wow.
So that I have a lot of the same quotes as you, so I'm just gonna like riff off of yours.
Yeah.
That fucking rocked me.
Yeah.
It you never like in the game, Joel, was traumatized, but you don't get a lot of the emotions that come with it. Like he's a very repressed man, and he'd rather not talk about it. Like there's a part in the game where Ellie wants to talk about what happened with Sam and Henry, and Joel's like, no, we're not talking about it. Like,
Yeah.
we're not gonna do it. Like doesn't let her process, doesn't even want to try. And that's why I loved the show so much, is what they were able to do with Joel, and like we got to see him be more emotional. It humanized him more because he wasn't just a video game character. So when that happened, when he goes, "It was me," and it pans to him and he says, "I was the guy who shot and missed," my heart stopped. I was like, huh? I gasped, and like I was like holding my breath. That entire scene was so heavy, so emotional, but I'm so glad that they included it, because in this part of the game, like Joel's opening up to Ellie more, like he's entered full dad mode. But to have him open up, not just with talking more about Sarah, but talking about himself in a way so that he can like show her like it will get better, like you gotta keep it's struggling with surviving and all of that. Like I was shaking, and I'm honestly like shaking just thinking about it. That scene, it was what a revelation.
It's so, I feel like it really adds, I don't want to say like, oh, a suicide attempt per se adds depth to his character, but I do think it adds depth to his character that's something he was willing to reveal to Ellie.
Yeah.
And that he was willing to be that vulnerable with her.
Yeah.
And I think it also helps you get a sense of how hopeless he was during that time.
Yeah, because he said it was the second day.
Yeah, like that is, I mean, oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. I think so. The one that I really want to give all of my love and attention to is, so time heals all wounds, I guess. This is something Ellie says, and then Joel responds, "It wasn't time that did it." Oh, like banging my fist on the table, like I screamed when I heard this. I looked over at Vishwas, and he just was like crying. Like, he's like, that's it. That's the line. Yep. That's the line for both of us.
That's how you say "I love you" without saying "I love you."
It was big ow.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that one. I wasn't strong enough for that one. In fact, I'm crying right now.
It's insane. It's really like shocking to hear him open up like this, like his character. Like it really like it wasn't off-putting, but it was like it completely threw me off. Like I was not expecting that, and it's like it's kind of sad. It's very sad because like it's like him and Ellie, they're now unfortunately kind of on different wavelengths because she's just gone through this incredibly traumatic event, and she probably isn't in the place to be that vulnerable right now, but he is.
Yeah, that's why like the only time they've ever been on the same page was at the end of episode 6, like post Jackson and pre stab time.
Yeah, it's so sad. Like it's one of those right place wrong time things, or right people wrong time things. And it made me realize how much that can apply to more than just romantic relationships watching this, because like you could be on a completely different wavelength than your parent or your friend, and it could like really like take things off course. So oh my gosh, like wow. And then last honorable mention, when Ellie's in the back of the car, she's woken up after they've left the hospital, and Joel is explaining what's happened, or what his version of what's happened, and he says they've stopped, and you get this cut of, he gets interrupted, he hesitates, and they edit it so you get the gunshot of him shooting Marlene for the first time, and then he says they stopped looking for a cure. I love that. Like, that is such good editing. I was like, wow. It's just like goosebumps when that happened. Yeah. Like, goosebumps. It's so good. Oh my God. This episode had so much good, like, the writing was just impeccable. I know you've got some good ones too, Caitlin, so tell me about yours.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much had all the same as yours. In addition to like right before Ellie says, "I'll follow you anywhere you go." I love that she goes like, "We'll go wherever you want, whether it's Tommy's, a sheep farm, or the moon." I was like, "Oh, I'm not ready for this." And then the gut punch of "I'll follow you anywhere you go." Just it both took years off my life and granted me immortality. Like,
I'm alive but I'm dead.
Yeah, we survived but we're dead. Yeah, I also really liked a couple lines from Joel during his, oh my god, that hospital scene when
Jesus.
we'll get into it, but wow. The first couple guys that he takes out, like the guys who are escorting him out of the hospital, and he asks where Ellie is, and he's got the guy at gunpoint, and the guy just starts like mumbling, or doesn't answer him. He just goes, "I don't have time for this," and shoots him. And I was like, "Oh, here we go!" Like,
he does not have time.
It's time. It's time for the hospital shootout. And then
oh my god,
again, because I was waiting for it, and like at first I was afraid. I was like, "Oh my god, are they not going to show it?" But then I remembered it has the very similar editing in the game where it just cuts to Joel and Ellie driving away, and then it goes back to what he did to Marlene. And I remembered because I was like, "Oh yeah, we're good." Like they're going to show it, because the line, "You just come after her." Oh my god, it hits, because it's like in the game, like when he says that, you're like, wow, like he this was all for Ellie, like this was all for Ellie, but just the fact that he's just like, no, I'm not gonna let anybody have the chance to possibly come after her, so I'll just take you out myself. And so to see that happen again, it was so good. Also, what I really liked is in the behind the scenes clip that they played just after the episode, Neil Druckmann says, "Saving humanity or this one girl, it's the easiest decision that Joel's had to make." And I was like, oh, I know, but ow!
It's so funny because I don't know. It must have been. I think Craig said something in like that behind the scenes episode, and Vish was just like, "Damn, why is it that Craig comes at us? He drops like another line every episode, like every behind the scenes content. He or Neil drop a line that's just like could have just been included in the episode as like additional, like it's insane. It's the level of like intellectualism, the level of like thoughtfulness that they go into when they describe the characters just shows, I feel like, how much they really care about the work, which I mean, I think that's all we ever say is like, oh, they seem like they really care about this, but
because
like,
they do though, and it's so rare nowadays. I feel like everything, and I know I've said this before, but like everything nowadays feels like it's made for profit, and finally this is something that was made for art, it just shows so much that like there is good storytelling out in the world, and just like to be able to just the fact that this was a good adaptation, not that the adaptation was made to make money, to get more people, like, oh, well, people played the game, they'll watch the show, and that'll give us an audience, it'll give us money, etc., etc. It was people loved the game so much that they wanted a crack at telling the story, but in a way that was unique, but also honored the fact that they know that people are coming here for the love of the game. And it's just it makes me so happy that this was a good adaptation. I feel like they put a lot of tedious work into this. I imagine it was very expensive to make this show, and I guess in terms of profits, I can imagine that the payback was probably substantial, just because if I didn't already have an HBO Max account, then I would probably be buying one just to watch the show. 100%. Yep.
Yeah. So Caitlin, what song would you be listening to during gameplay of the hospital scene?
Well, first of all, my cat is here, and she has a lot of things to say about The Last of Us. So if you hear her in the background, just know that she too was emotionally devastated.
Yeah.
But first of all, I just want to call out the fact that they used a slow orchestral version of the Last of Us theme during this scene. Incredible. I love it when big action sequences are set to like slower music, and this was just we'll get into it more later probably, but it was just so cool. But I would be because I love pain, I would be listening to Future Days by Pearl Jam. And not necessarily the Pearl Jam version. So if you know, you know. And just know I think about it often and I cry a lot about it. What song would you be listening to?
I was thinking a lot about 4th of July by Sufjan Stevens, and I will not be explaining this, and I think that's just for the best so I don't like end up crying. But
Yeah.
I feel like the lyrics and then like just the general vibe, and also because I love when they play like a slower song. We talked about this. I don't remember where we talked about this. It might have actually been in last week's episode.
We've talked about it before, and I just went, yeah.
It's cool when you play like a slower song to an action scene sometimes than like a more crazy song, because it really like keeps you captivated and in the moment. So that was kind of where I was going.
Yeah, perfect.
What song would you be listening to when you're looking out over Salt Lake City and the giraffe appears?
I said Dear Daughter by Hailstorm, specifically because the lyrics say, Dear daughter, I was just like you, and just like me, you're gonna make it through. These are words that every girl should hear. There will be love, there will be pain, there will be hope, there will be fear. Through it all, year after year, stand or fall, I will be right here, and after all, I'll be right here for you. And if that ain't Joel and Ellie, I don't know what is.
That's so funny. I feel like I chose like a very similar song. I chose Father and Daughter by Paul Simon.
Oh.
And I listened to it a couple times over last night, and I feel like I'm going to read the lyrics. Just like go look up lyrics. They're all relevant. But there's this great guitar riff going on throughout the song, and it made me think about Joel playing the guitar, and then I was like, okay, I guess I'll kill myself. So definitely listen. Oh my god, actually no, it's about them. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then I also said Peace by Miss Taylor Allison Swift in honor of her upcoming tour opening, and also because I saw an edit with this the other day, and it really kind of hurt me a lot, and I'm kind of mad at whatever 14-year-old on TikTok made that after their science test and decided to like pop it up there for me.
They're really
They're insane. It's literally always like someone being like, "Oh, sorry guys, I'm late to post this. I had volleyball practice," and then it's like the most gut-wrenching Phoebe Bridgers song dubbed over like episode 6 and episode 7 clips. I'm like, why are you guys doing this to me?
I want everyone to know, everyone who has made a Joel and Ellie edit to I Know the End by Phoebe Bridgers.
Shut
up. Oh, it kills me. It's like I knew the lyrics, but then they put it to them, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm just gonna go jump off a roof or something. Because...
Yeah, there are so many lyrics. Like, I think in between Taylor Swift and Phoebe Bridgers, I've seen so many edits for Joel and Ellie over the past couple of weeks, and it's really hurt me. Like,
yeah,
really hurt me. Like, first of all, I can't believe that Phoebe Bridgers wrote I Know in the End for The Last of Us. Amazing
I know,
work.
I can't believe she did that.
Thanks for doing that, Phoebe.
Thanks, Phoebe.
But yeah, no, there's so many. I feel like I have a playlist. It's called Uh-Oh. And it's a Joel and Ellie playlist on Spotify, so go check it out. But like, just know that I'm in a bad place because uh-oh. So yeah. So yeah. That's all I have to say about that. I'm done.
Sometimes it's just a little uh-oh, and you know.
Yeah.
One uh-oh goes a long way.
One uh-oh goes a long way, guys. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so what character would you carry through a hospital?
Oh, I mean, Ellie. Ellie, Joel. I feel like he'd be kind of heavy, but I'm really heartbroken for her because she's lost 2 things in this episode. One being the opportunity to save people, which she feels like is her purpose, and like also the opportunity to like actually be able to make that choice to do that.
Yeah.
And then on that note, the ability to fully trust Joel because she knows deep down that he's lying about the fireflies, and that really like hurts me a
Yeah.
lot. So cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's really good.
Super
Okay,
cool,
everything ended
fun,
really
thank
well.
you.
This is cool. Okay, how about you?
Oh, Ellie, of course, Ellie. She's been through hell, and like you said, like her entire purpose was taken from her, and like just the fact that like she did terrible, horrible things. They went through traumatic, terrible, horrible things to get to that place, and then it was just
Yeah.
all for nothing. And the person that she loves most in this world lied to her. Like,
Oh,
that is the pain that Neil Druckmann has plagued us all with since 2013, and
pretty uncool,
it
honestly.
it will always haunt me. Like, this is why I love this story so much, is because it's so compelling, because I don't know, it's just so emotional, and it just really gets down to like those like primal human emotions of love, you know. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just like there's I mean, there's so much debate about the ending, and now I just know it's going to resurface now that the show has done it again, and it's just it's interesting. It's a really compelling story, and I have nothing but praise to say about it.
Same. I'm like, oh my god, I'm having a really hard time processing that it's over still. So just bear with me while I mourn. So I feel like it's gonna be kind of hilarious for us to talk about peaks and valleys now, because I think everybody who's listening along probably already knows that our valleys are gonna be like stupid. But what was your first peak for this episode, Caitlin?
Oh, the giraffes.
Yeah.
I was like, I knew they would do it, but given how faithful they've stayed to the game thus far, like, I wasn't worried that they weren't gonna do this scene, but I was still like, what if they don't do it?
Yeah.
Because all of, like, there was little giraffe Easter eggs throughout the entire show, and I say that, and I can only think of two. Like, there was the giraffe stuffed animal in episode 2.
Oh yeah.
And then there was the giraffe poster in episode 6. Like, I was like, oh, you gotta do it. And it paid off, and they did it, and I just, like, the second that Elliot dropped the ladder, I was like, yep, here we go.
Yeah.
She sees him. And,
Yeah.
And then, of course, Vanishing Grace played right where it should be. Like, they tortured me a couple times by playing it early when I wasn't emotionally prepared for it, but they played it, and it got me it got me good. And why I love this scene so much is because, like, after everything you've gone through, after the entire winter section, like, it's just this beautiful moment of peace. And Craig Mazin calls it bittersweet, because it is. And it's just like they've both been through so much, and the fact that they get like this moment where it's like, oh, look at how beautiful the world is, you know?
Yeah.
It's so soft. And I remember playing the game, and just like before you move on, like, you can like hit whatever button or just like move away, and then the moment's over. I just remember like staying there for so long. I put my controller down, and I was just like, I'm just gonna sit right here and watch the giraffes with my daughter.
Yeah.
And nothing bad will happen. Like, I
agree.
I just was sobbing throughout the entire time I first played it. I think I sobbed even more like after I played the whole game, because I knew what was coming, and I'm like, I guess I'll just walk away. But it's so beautiful, and the way they did it in the show was so nice, and just the way that Joel is looking at Ellie is so soft. And I have to assume that this is probably like the first time that she's laughed or smiled this much since David. And like, we see that innocence that she had for the first 6 episodes come back for the first time. And it's just beautiful. It's so soft, and it's so sad, but it's just beautiful, and I'm so glad, and they did it so well.
I couldn't agree more. That was my first peak as well. Like, it is bittersweet, because we aren't just getting like a rare moment of peace after the winter scene, but also before everything that comes next.
Yep.
And it's just like this last moment of surety and softness between them, with like this small glimpse of this more childlike Ellie through the pain of the last episode, and the return of the pun book, and Joel's newfound vulnerability with her. It's all just like, it's so much, and it's like such a little treat. It's like Craig and Neil dangled it over our little heads, like, here's a little treat for you guys, and then they dropped it. They dropped it. and we all ate it up. We were like, ah, you know, like wily coyotes, and then it was gone, and all we had left was darkness. But no, in all sincerity, it's been such a wonder to see the progression of Joel's affinity for Ellie. Like, his voice getting so much softer. Like, that was the first thing I noticed in this episode, was he's just, like, got a completely different consonance about him.
Yep.
And, I mean, his feet are turning more toward her, and he just, like, looks at her the way that he'd look at his own daughter, and it's, like, really fucking sad.
Full dad mode. Yep.
Yeah, so and I feel like it's such a great opportunity to highlight alternative, like, I don't know, like alternative found family dynamics between, like, because sometimes you just get like, oh, you're an adult and you have friends and they become your family. But I like that this is like, okay, there's this small child and, like, she does not have a real father, and Joel has lost his daughter, and we get like this really great father-daughter dynamic that is like a found family. It's like, really, I feel like it's super rare to see, and it was done so well here, and I really enjoyed it. Like,
yeah.
Wow. Like, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this little treat.
Thank you. Thank you for this. I like it very much. But it's gone, and I want more. Can I have more? Can I have more, please? What was your second peak, Caitlin?
Joel's rampage through the hospital. Oh my god, my jaw was on the floor. It was so. I was a little nervous for this scene, because I was like, how are they gonna do it? I don't know, like,
they're just gonna do it.
They're just gonna do it.
Just gonna do it.
I was like, I hope they don't I don't want them to, like, I guess that was like my biggest fear with it, was like, they're not gonna show how brutal that was, because at this point in the game, you're mowing down anybody who gets in your way. you know?
Right.
And that's exactly what he did. And I think the way they did it was better than I think anything I could ever imagine. Like, I love that it was basic, like, almost in slow motion, the way he just took out every single person, like, no hesitation. There's this one part where this one guy, like, puts his gun down and he puts his hands up and he gets down on his knees. And there's, like, maybe a split second where you're like, oh, maybe he'll just knock him out. And then Joel just, like, looks at him. There's no emotion in his face, pulls the trigger, and then he moves on. And I'm like, he's so dead set on getting to Ellie. It doesn't, like, there's nothing in his face. He's just on autopilot. And it was so incredibly done. The music was phenomenal. As we said, like, action sequences set to slow music, as it just makes it all the more emotional, and it's just like, these are the lengths that he will go to protect his family. And this is the Joel that Tommy was afraid of, you know, like, or that Maria was afraid of. Like, it was just so incredible, and I don't think they could have done it any better. The absolute no hesitation when he killed the surgeon was, I wasn't surprised, but at the same time I was. Like, when I played the game, I stood there for about 10 seconds being like, oh, I have to kill this guy. All right. and then you do it. And then, but, like, the way that he kills him, but he doesn't even look at him. He's looking at Ellie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have a lot of word vomit in our notes, and a lot of it is just talking about, like, perspectives and how, like, we got, like, new perspectives in the show. And so why I love The Last of Us so much is because it's, as we've said multiple times, it's never been about the infected. It's always been about the people. It's always been it's a love story. It is always about, like every character has their own Last of Us story, and, like, we got to see that a lot more in the show. Like, we saw that with Henry and Sam, and we saw that with Kathleen and Bill and Frank, and like Riley, and, like, all of these people. What I loved most about the show is that we got more of Ellie's perspective, and I like that because in the game you're playing predominantly as Joel, obviously, except for the winter section, and then so by the time you get to the end, you're like, of course I'm taking out all these people, of course I'm going to save Ellie, this is my daughter, I just spent this entire game bonding with her, and like doing all these things, like, there's no hesitation. So, like, of course by the time you get there, like, you're doing whatever you can to get to Ellie and save her, because of course any good parent would do that. That is your child, screw the rest of the world, it doesn't matter, because it's all about her now. And what I really liked about the show is that, like, it makes you think more about Ellie and what her feelings might be or what her decisions might be. So like what was really getting me in this episode is like Joel was already full dad mode, like already kind of deciding like, yep, my future's with you. I'm gonna take you back with me to Tommy's. Like, this is what's gonna happen. It's obviously like Ellie, and like that's another thing is that Ellie talks a lot about her future, and because she's always talking about like after, like okay, after this is over, like she's with him. Like she says, I'll follow you anywhere you go. But it was, I think it just hit the ending really hit me more because we've spent so much time with Ellie and we were getting more of her in the show. That's like it really made me think like, wow, she had no choice in any matter, and not just because of Joel, but because of the Fireflies too. Like Marlene, like in the game, Ellie is knocked out unconscious before she even gets there, and so she had no choice in the matter. In the game, she's conscious, but then they like Marlene says like she doesn't know she doesn't know that she's gonna die. Ellie never had that information, like she never knew the whole picture, and they never even gave like Joel and Ellie a chance to say goodbye, which is wild.
Yeah.
Like Marlene was ready to let Joel just be like, yeah, here's her knife. Sorry. Thanks for bringing us the cure, though, that we don't even know if it's going to work or not. Right. And I thought more about Ellie's perspective because when the game ended, I was just like, yeah, I mean, I would have done what Joel did too, but at the same time, like, this really sucks for Ellie because her whole, like we said, like her whole purpose is taken away from her. I think that just hit harder this time around, especially since we can see the conflict even more in her face in that end scene. I just like the line that Joel had in episode 6 where he tells Ellie you deserve a choice just hits so much harder because she never had a choice from anybody. It just makes me go, what about Ellie? What does she want? And I think they did a really good job in the show, like portraying that.
It's kind of incredible that we get this scene because for players of the game, it's inspired like a decade of debate about whether or not Joel did the right thing. And I think that's going to be the case again for people watching now. I feel like I've already seen like the discourse emerge. And this is like, I think it's funny because we now live in a world that's very much like dominated by discourse. So this is just going to be like a thing for the next couple of weeks. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, same.
So yeah, it's really interesting to think about how complex, like, I mean, this is like a very nuanced ending to this season and to this particular like part of the game. Like I feel like there's no black or white answer. Like it's very complex. What happens at the very end. There are a lot of complex emotions. This all sounds perhaps a little bit generalized, but I think I'm just trying to sum up the sense that like what Ellie has could potentially save humanity. So there's like this like there's a trolley problem here because it's like, okay, if Ellie dies, but then we're able to by some means use the cordyceps from her brain to save humanity, that's great. But then there's also a chance that might not work. And then you've got someone like Joel who probably isn't even thinking about that because he just has a lot of big feelings and doesn't want this girl who he's grown close with to die. So that's why, I mean, like, I had this conversation with my partner last night. My fish was hates Marlene. And I don't necessarily see Marlene as like a black and white bad person. Like I don't think that she's necessarily like a villain. I understand her motives for doing what she's done.
Exactly, yeah.
And I feel like the backstory with Anna really helps, I think, humanize her, and like gives us a sense of who she is. So I'm really hesitant to be like, oh, like blah, Marlene, but I'm also like super hesitant to praise Joel for his choices because I think, as you said, Ellie has no autonomy at this point in the game, and she is the person who contains the cordyceps. Like, as willing as she is to do what needs to be done in order to save humanity, she's given no opportunity to realize like the potential of what that could mean for her in her life. Like, she's given no choice to determine whether or not she lives because of that, and that's really unfair.
And what always gets me is that like they didn't know if it was going to work. They kept saying like, "Oh, our doctor thinks that this is going to be okay. Like, we
Yeah.
think this is, like, and, like, there's no guarantee. And also, like, I don't think a vaccine could be, first of all, distributed to everybody, especially coming from one person. So,
Yeah.
like, I always felt like the chances were very slim anyway. But again, what it all comes down to is Ellie was never told the full truth. Ellie was never given a decision. They just put her in surgery before she could probably even say yes. My gut instinct is, yeah, Ellie would want to have, like, give the cure. But at the same time, like, because she talks so much about her future with Joel, like, post-vaccine, I don't know if she would die for it. Like, I really don't know. And that's the thing. Like, you don't know. But what you do know is this conflict. And yeah.
It's super, and I think that's the other thing is, like, like, there's absolutely no chance, like, we have no expectations, no evidence that if Ellie had passed away, had been, you know, lobotomized by the Fireflies for the cure, we have no perspective on whether it would work. But that, I feel like that helps me to understand the Fireflies' perspective a little more, because there's, like, desperation there.
Yeah.
Like, it is the end of the fucking world. Like, whenever I'm like at the same time that I'm like, oh, like, if I was in that situation as a parent, I would probably save my child. On the flip side of this, if I was in a group of people who has been working for, like, decades plus to try to save the world, I'm not necessarily sure what I would do there either.
Yeah.
So that's why I like this scene a lot. It's, like, super, it's like we get these, we often think about, like, the perspectives and, like, the people in this scene that have autonomy, which are the Fireflies and Joel. But this show really raises the question of like, who should have really had a choice. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
On that note, the hospital scene was my favorite as well.
Yeah.
This scene was, like, super vivid for me. It played out almost exactly like I remember the gameplay in my head, which I haven't watched in, like, well over a year. But, like, the encounter with Marlene in the parking garage, I was just like, that was, like, it's just, like, the game moment, because like, I was, like, nodding the whole time. I was like, oh my god, I remember all of this. Like, this is all, like, coming back to me. It was like, it was like lucid dreaming. I was like, wow, deja vu. It was so good. And I really like applaud Pedro Pascal's acting in this scene, because I feel like he really, like, delivered the complete lack of feeling as he's going through the hospital.
Yep.
It's like chilling to experience. And I totally understand now why Tommy was like, bro, remember who we were? So really good scene. I can't believe this, but we're gonna try to talk about things we didn't like, and there's, like, there's no way where this, like, works out sincerely. Like, what's your valley, Kaylin?
It's over.
yeah.
Like literally, like, that Finding Nemo scene. Now what? You know?
Now what? Yeah.
Like, I guess I'll just have to watch it all again. Like,
yeah.
It's over. Actually, okay, I do have one valley, and it's so small, and it doesn't change my viewing of the show at all. But she lost her backpack. And all her stuff.
That's upsetting. Why did she lose her stuff? Bring her back her stuff. Maybe she gets her stuff back in the second season, and that's one of the speculating points for her to, like, be like, wait a minute, Joel lied to me. I don't know. We'll find out.
It just made me really sad that, like, they've kind of talked about, like, how much Ellie loves her stuff. Like, she loves her Walkman, and because it's hers, and she doesn't have her pun book anymore.
Yeah, why would they do that?
My valley is, it's over, and I'm sad.
Yeah, that was my valley too. And again, like, I'm gonna be complaining every week about about episodes ending at the time that they're supposed to end. But, like, when we cut to the credits, I was pissed. I was like, we just got here. We just sat down. Like, and then when the episode started and it was, like, 40 minutes, my partner's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, 40 minutes? That's all? Because it just goes so fast. Like, you're so immersed in every episode that you just, it's like bang. Like, it goes so fast.
Yeah, even the episodes that are like an hour long, I'm like, oh, already? We're here? We're done?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
It's crazy. The pacing was really good, but yeah, I was like, oh my god, that was quick.
Ridiculous.
So, what thing are you the saddest that Joel and Ellie missed because of the apocalypse? Now that we're at the finale,
I'm gonna be super meta and say the season finale of The Last of Us. It was really good, and I feel like they would have really liked it.
Yep, I think they would too. Along those same lines, I said, yeah, I think they should play The Last of Us.
I feel like they should play. Yeah, I think they'd really like The Last of Us. It's really good, and it's like really similar to their lives.
Yeah,
so
weird. I'd also I would want Joel to play it, and for him to be like super bad at it. I just think that'd be really funny.
That'd be really funny. I would enjoy that too. Yeah. I can't believe I literally can't believe we're about to rate this episode and kind of like close out with some questions about the season overall. Like, I can't believe we're here. It's crazy
sad.
to me.
Let's just keep recording.
Yeah, let's just keep. Or if we keep talking, then
the show will never end.
Yeah,
exactly.
Can't end. On a scale of 1 to 5, times that you cried this episode, how many stars would you give? Episode 9 of The Last of Us?
All of them, all of the stars. I once again keyboard smashed. Won't pretend to make up the number, but yeah, 5 out of 5. Mm-hmm. This honestly, truly is a perfect show. I have nothing bad to say about it, and I would argue that it's not even of my bias for the love of the game and the story. I just genuinely think that the way that they adapted it was so well done. It was like watching the game play out, but you also get extra. You get extra story expansion, extra emotional expansion with the characters, and it made the whole story better. Nothing that they did ever made me go, well, why are they doing that? Or, why would they put that in? Everything made sense. Everything was so well done. And they've really set the bar high for themselves for season 2. But
Good luck.
Like best wishes, warmest regards. But like they've also set the bar high for anyone else who's looking to adapt anything else to screen. So I can only hope that anybody who wants to do that watches this show and takes some notes, because I personally have no notes for this show. It's so good. Well done.
Yeah.
How about you?
I mean, this episode was really strong. I feel like the writing and acting combined really made it for me. Yeah. Seeing this much closer Joel and Ellie, the hospital scene, the ending, it all really moved me. I think I've been fully taking for granted how much of my life this past 2 months has been taken up by this show. Yeah. I feel like there's going to be like a really surprising void without it. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself on Sundays. I will be missing it very much, and I really can't wait for next season. I'm really excited.
Me too.
Caitlin, we are at the end of our The Last of Us reviews. And I think we would be remiss not to talk a little bit about this entire season and some of our favorite moments, and just kind of do like an overall look back at some of our faves. So what was your favorite episode of the season?
This was a super hard question. This question was my idea, and I didn't necessarily account for how hard this question was going to be. Yeah. Which is good, it's good that like this is a hard question, but I'm cheating and I'm going to say 2. The first one that came to mind was episode 5, Endure and Survive, because I feel like that episode really demonstrated the balance between the theme of love being what drives people to make some wild decisions, like Henry with Sam, and then Kathleen's reason for vengeance. Also, I felt like it was a really great use of Infected. It's really funny now that looking back that there were only really significant episodes for the Infected twice. Like there were only 2 episodes.
Truly, yeah.
Yeah, and it was the second episode, and it was episode 5, and other than that, they were either hardly there or not there at all, which I think is hilarious and also great. And then also I wanted to mention episode 8, When We Are in Need, because I felt like that was a masterpiece in fear and also acting. It was the most tense episode all season, and I'm still in awe of how great the pacing was to fit the entire winter section into one episode. I think it was about maybe 50 or 55 minutes long, and they just did it so well, and it didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel like it just wasn't working. It was all so well done, and I know that Bella's name is being engraved in an Emmy as we speak for their performance in the episode, because once again, Bella is the perfect Ellie, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, I mean, this was a hard question for me too, and I love that that's the case, because that's when you know that a show's team has done a really good job of bringing it to life. So I also had a tie. I think long time, this is episode 3, will probably go down in history for me as the greatest bottle episode, if you even want to call it that, of all time, because they took the opportunity to tell an incredible love story with like the most stellar writing and two very talented actors. I think the pairing of Murray Bartlett and Nick Offerman was just like exceptional, and they executed it seamlessly. I think I'll be thinking of this episode when I die, and I'm okay with that. Like, it is, I really think, like, if we were in the 90s, when people would like gather around for like this series finale of Friends, or like The West Wing, or like ER, this would be that episode. That like goes down in history as being one of the best written television of all time. I agree. Wow. And then I'll have to agree with you. Episode 8, When We Are in Need, really, I think when I think of this show, I will be thinking of this episode respectfully. If someone were to ask me, like, to give, like, to tell them a little bit about an episode that I think really personifies what is good about this show, what is excellent about this show, I would probably name this episode. Because it gives us some incredible heart-wrenching acting from Bella Ramsey and some very badass Joel activity, and like really personifies the true fears in the Last of Us universe, which are like inherently like people. So I mean, I have nothing but good things to say about all the episodes of this season, but I think these two really, really stuck out to me.
So what episode made you cry the most? Because there's a lot of tears shed.
So for me, it was When You're Lost in the Darkness. This was episode 1. You were there. I sobbed the entire time, like the whole episode. I was just crying so fucking hard. I think I cried almost every episode, but this one, like the moment we lost Sarah until the very end, I was catatonic. Like, I could not speak. I was just like, oh my God. Like, my eyes hurt the next day. There was something about watching Joel suffer such excruciating loss without even knowing him well yet that really ruined me from the moment that we started watching. And I also kind of don't think I took my Lexapro that day, to be so for real. But like in the moment, I was like, oh my God. Like, it was like, I thought I was having a crisis.
It's because you were.
Then, I really was. Like, so you were there, and so you know better than I was if I probably needed to go to the hospital. But, and then there's some honorable mentions for me. Bill and Frank's last dinner and the window scene, like that really
the window
ruined me. Ellie and Riley dancing on the table, like their little girlhood moment. Of course, I've got you, baby girl. Like, what the frig? When Sam turns, that like kind of ruined my life forever.
Correct. Yep.
And then every line in this last episode really like got me all welled up.
Yep.
What about you? Tell me about what made you cry. I mean, I know, but
I mean, I think it's wonderful when people call this people who don't know the story, when they go, oh, I'm gonna check out that zombie show, because you really have no idea what you're getting yourself into, because it's an emotional show, you know, like it's not about the zombies. The episode that really got me going, because like there were episodes where I would tear up a little bit. There were episodes where I would cry during a scene, but then I'd be okay. The episode that I cried the entire time was episode 7, Left Behind. It takes the freaking cake. Tears streaming down my face. My dad had to check in on me halfway through the episode to make sure I was okay. God bless him. But I think what really gets me about this one is just how innocent they were, how innocent Ellie and Riley were. We talked in our review about this, like they were girls together. And just because they were having such a good time, they were so happy, they were giggling, But like the scene that like really like I mean I was like, you know, tears streaming down my face like I think the second the lights in the mall turn on. But what breaks me is the carousel ride because of how like the music is beautiful, the lighting is so warm and lovely, and then Ellie's just looking up at Riley like she's her whole world because at this point she is.
Yeah.
And it what breaks me is the fact that like this was Ellie before we really knew her, and like this is when her whole world shatters and she's never the same again. And just it also just really like emphasized the fact that she's a kid, you know.
Right.
And it just really broke me. Like both Bella Ramsey and Storm Reed's performance in the episode was incredible, and I think I'll probably cry every time I even think about it or watch it.
Yeah.
And then that being said, I did also have some honorable mentions from all the other episode. Sarah's death, obviously.
Oh yeah.
You touched on if you get through that without crying, you're a monster. There's something about Tess saying "save who you can save" that really got me. Like I teared up because one, I was hoping we would get like a little bit more from Tess. But like also it made sense, and just like she's like, I'm already gone, so you know, save your world. Bill telling Frank you were my purpose broke me. I had happy tears in this show.
Oh yeah.
When Joel and Ellie were laughing together at the end of episode 4 was so sweet. Sam turning into an infected was so much more heartbreaking and traumatizing than it was in the game, that I don't think anything could have prepared me. And also just the way that Bella screams in that scene, no child should be able to make those noises, you know.
No.
Like you should know what that's like. So that hurt me.
Right.
When Joel said all I do is fail her in episode 6 in that whole speech, obviously it's okay baby girl, I've got you broke me. And then the giraffes. Also the I was the one who missed scene in episode 9. So
ouch.
Very emotional time was had throughout the season.
'Twas very hurtful. Will not be returning, as I said before, for season 2. I will be dead. So yeah. What was the most surprising moment from the season for you, Caitlin?
Yeah, so I had a few. Obviously, like playing the game, I knew the story, but I really I loved the first most surprising thing was the fact that Bill and Frank's characters were expanded into the most beautiful love story I've ever seen in my life. I loved it. It made me like Bill is such a caricature, I feel like, in the game, where he's like this, you know, doomsday prepper type guy, and then Frank is nothing but a body and a note. So it just, the fact that they were like, now we're gonna do this different and we're gonna make everybody cry while we're at it, like it just great choice. I loved it so much, and I loved that the themes of that episode carried on throughout the rest of the season. Like I know I mentioned it before, but when Frank says paying attention to things is how we show love, we see that in a lot of different ways throughout the season. And then like even Bill's "you were my purpose" is a big theme for Joel and Ellie. So I loved how they set that up, but also just the fact that it was just a beautiful, beautiful love story set in this terrible setting, and it was wonderful, and it was very shocking. Every time that Joel showed more emotional depth in the show, like the "you shouldn't have had to kill that guy" scene in episode 4 and his speech to Tommy in episode 6, everything about him in episode 9, it was really nice to see this closed off character open up more, and in a way that made sense, and it was just really well done. And I think honestly the most shocking thing for me was when Joel told Ellie the scar on his head was from him. Like I said, my heart stopped. Like I really wasn't prepared for that one in the slightest, so I thought that was really shocking. How about for you?
For me, when Tess died so early on, I was like kind of surprised because I expected her to stick around for much longer. I think like in the very beginning, the way that she's introduced, it seems like she's going to be somebody who's like a series regular, and then it's like, no, just kidding. Because
none of us learned from Sarah, so we're like with Tess, we're like, oh yeah, she's here to stay.
Yeah, literally. when a few of the episodes ended at their intended runtime, I was surprised. I was like, bitch, like, come back here. I'm not done with you yet. Like, there were, like, literally, like, whenever we cut to credits, sometimes I would just, like, leap out of my seat. I'd be like, hey, yeah. When Sam turned, and then Henry killed himself, that really, like, I think I looked over at my partner, we were both just, like, our jaws were dropped. We were like, huh? Like, we didn't play the game, so we didn't know. And then when it happened, we were like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, this poor baby child. Oh my gosh. And it just really broke us both. And then when we see the ear, and we realize that David's group is full of cannibals, that was like, oh, I love that. I feel like I mean, like, if you're like a fellow person out there that hasn't played the game and you were like, oh my God, shook by that, then like, I'm with you, girl. Like, that was crazy. I was like, oh my God. Like, that was probably my favorite shock. I think that was my favorite shocker of the season, just because, oh, like, I totally wasn't expecting it. It really, like, it just gave me a good little jolt. Like,
I'm so happy for you.
Gave me a good little power, a little kick of energy to start the week. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so as we wrap up, of course, The Last of Us has been renewed for season 2.
Oh my God.
Will you, Emberlyn, will you try and play The Last of Us Part 2 before season 2 comes out?
No. I don't think I'll be playing the game before the next season comes out. I mean, I can't say the same for other members of this household who have been talking about this show nonstop for about 2 months now. But I personally, I mean, the potential for us to become a PlayStation household, because we are already an Xbox household, is very low. I think it really depends on the government getting really cool about a lot of stuff really quickly. So I'm probably going to say no, like, not on this paycheck. But I mean, there's 2 years, so we'll see. I don't super mind not having played it, because I think that it's cool that one of us comes into it with the background of having played the game and the other doesn't. Yeah, so I feel like I probably will not have played it, and I've made peace with that. Yeah.
I'm like considering, I'm like, do I want to replay part 2? And then I remembered everything. And I was like,
Did you
maybe
feel
I'm
like
not emotionally ready?
Did you feel like there was an added benefit to, because you played through the game again while, like, along with the episode sequence? Did you feel like there was an added benefit to that?
Yeah, so again, so what I've been doing is I tried to replay the whole game before the show came out, but I didn't have time, and then I decided, I'll just play once an episode comes out, I'll play up until the episode ended. And it's been kind of fun, because it's, even though, like, I know the scenes, it kind of it reminds me a lot of all of the dialogue that they keep in. Even, like, there's some, like, really important dialogue, but even ones that aren't, like, the whole the scene with Ellie confronting David and James, and, like, when she's, like, calling him buddy boy and everything, like, line for line, and I was like, oh shit, I was like, that was in the game too, I forgot. And it also has been interesting to just show all the details, like, even, like, in the, like, the scenery and, like, the rooms and the places that you go in. It's been interesting to see, like, just how close it is to the game with that reminder. And it was kind of fun, because Sunday I finished the winter section before I watched the finale, and then of course it goes right into spring, and then it starts off, and you kind of hear, like, this drone sound, and Ellie's just kind of, like, staring at, like, this carving in a wall of, like, a deer, and you hear Joel going, like calling after her, but she doesn't hear him right away. And I looked at my brother, and I was like, it'd be really cool if they started tonight's episode like that, and then they did, and I was like, see, that's awesome. Like, it's really cool. And even, like, the guitar, like him wanting to teach a guitar, I don't know, it was just really it reminded me of details that I wouldn't have necessarily remembered, that I appreciated more because I had just seen it in the show. So it's been fun. Will I be doing that for part 2? I don't know, because part 2 is so long and it has so much, and also it just emotionally devastates me all the way around. So Right now, I won't be touching that for a long, long time, but
It's a lot to go through.
It is. It is. Yeah. I think I'm a little nervous for season 2. But I also trust them because they did season 1 so well. But because of how part 2 plays out, I'm just really interested to see not where this goes, but how they do it.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like one thing I like about this show, and they talk about this a little bit in the behind the scenes content, but like the intention is always to like build on to the existing source material in a way such that they're not just repeating content in a different medium, but they're also adding something. So I hope what's added is like really furthers the story as opposed to like weakens it. And so far that's been the case. So I'm fingers crossed that happens again in season 2.
They have some big shoes to fill that they created. So
you got some big shoes to fill. Yours. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thank you for listening to Live by Moonlight. We've truly enjoyed spending each week talking about this show with you, and we hope you'll be checking out some of our other content and reviews if you enjoyed these. But for those of you who love this show, we love you. We thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you for season 2.
Wee-hoo! Nothing bad will happen!
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. Bye.
Bye.